is rough, and it takes all that you've got, but he's been here, just waiting for you to knock. So take his hand and plant your feet on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to build my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to build my life on the rock. I want to live my life on the rock. I want to build my life on the rock.
Hi, welcome to Life on the Rock. Tonight we have another exciting show for you. We have St. John's Catholic School all the way from Beloit, Kansas. We have Andrew Niewald, Joe Holdren, and Luke Eilert, senior there at the school. They're going to share the amazing faith journey of this school and the great work that they do, and all at a very affordable price, which impresses me. Good to see you, Doug.
You too, Father.
Yeah, you had quite a journey today, right?
I did, yeah. It was very interesting. Airports are my friend.
Your hair shirt, right?
That's all I'm
Your
going to
hair
say.
shirt.
Yeah, delays, weather, you know. Of course,
Yeah.
you're down south here. You got hit with a couple inches of snow in the last couple of days. It kind of paralyzed everybody down here.
Right, yeah, we had a big snowfall by Southern standards, and, but we're making it through it. But, you know, this opening segment I wanted to talk about Pope Francis not too long ago. He addressed the Pontifical Council for the Laity, and he talked about the digital age we live in. And I know this affects so many young people, so all of us, right? All of us are online and do work online and communicate online. And he says digital communication offers a number of possibilities, the most important of which is the proclamation of the gospel. You know, I thought that right there, you know, do we use everything in our lives? You know, when we love someone, something, it seems like we put everything towards that, right? And so it's just part of our life de facto today, right? The internet. Are we using that to proclaim the gospel? And for some of it, it's hard to maintain concentration, right? We can't even have a conversation without dialing into the internet.
Did you say something, Father? I was just going to tweet what you were saying to the world out there right now on my
Instagram
smartphone.
Picture or something, yeah. So it's part of the very fabric.
It is. It really is. It is. You know, and in fact, just about a week or so ago, I was doing a retreat down in Jacksonville, Florida, and to all you down there, God bless you. Good to meet some of you, and good to see some of you again. And about 400 8th graders down there. And at the very beginning of the retreat, what we did is the rules were laid out by the retreat organizers that, cell phones, smartphones had to be put away, and if they were seen, they could be confiscated. And the faces, of course, drop in fear and devastation that their phones are going to be possibly removed from them. So we started the retreat, me and my friend Eric Jennis, by saying we want everybody to pull out your phone, pull out your smartphone, and open your favorite app, get your favorite game going, and just get into it right away. And instantaneously, probably 200 to 300 of these 400 students were on their phones immediately, and how quickly they can pull this stuff up. Right. The ability, the technology, it's all right at their fingertips. And we spent about 10, 15 minutes doing this little exercise, and then we said, okay, now stop, put the phones away, and let's talk about it. And we discussed exactly what the Pope is getting at here, is that the power of the internet, the power of this technology is right there, and it is part of the fabric of our lives. Right. And it needs to be, used in a very disciplined, fashion, because while it has a great power to it to evangelize and communicate, it can be abused, and we can become very isolated by it. Right. You know.
And he said, certainly though important, acquiring technical knowledge is not enough, proclaiming the gospel on the digital continent, so to speak. He says, firstly, it means encountering real women and men who are often wounded or lost in order to give them real reasons to hope. Proclamation requires authentic human relationships destined to culminate in a personal encounter with the Lord. So that's the goal, right? Encounter with the Lord, and we can share things with other people. I'm sending pictures and all this kind of stuff, and it really can be powerful to inspire others. And also, though, we have to be wise, and I would just encourage young people, let your parents know everything. Be completely transparent with them about what's going on online. We know there's dangers with that as well. So you have to be very open with your parents. Let them guide you, obviously, with their wisdom and knowledge. But it's a great place that we can foster encounter with others.
I would like to make a comment on that point too, Father. For the parents out there, there's a pressure sometimes we feel that, this is my kid's computer, this is my kid's phone, and I don't have a right to go take a look at what's on it or what they're getting involved in. And not so. as parents, we have not only the right to it, we have the obligation to make sure that we're helping them and guide them and guard them in this area. So don't, as a parent, feel that pressure to give in to that attitude that, well, it's their phone, it's their computer, I really don't have the right to go get into that. No, I always say, look, if it's in my home, right, I have access to it, and it's because I've got to guard the home first and foremost for the Lord. And so don't feel as a parent that you don't have the right to get in there. You have not only the right, it's a job, it's part of our parenting responsibilities to take care of our kids. It's an important thing to remember.
Right. So he says, therefore the internet is not enough. Technology does not suffice. This, however, does not mean that the church's presence online is useless. On the contrary, her presence is indispensable. He said, always with an evangelical style and what, for many, specifically young people, has become a kind of life environment to stir up in hearts the insuppressible questions about the meaning of life and to point to the way that leads to him who is the answer. Not growing up with the internet, when I use it today, it just staggers me. Like, I just downloaded one of the talks from the Walk for Life. You can get the text online. It was just a very inspiring talk. I can read, it can help me in my faith. He says, dear friends, the church is always on a journey in search of new ways to proclaim the gospel. Every day, the contribution and the testimony of lay faithful has proven to be more and more indispensable. That is so true, right? I mean, it's today, anybody can so easily become missionaries in powerful ways, getting that word out there in so many different venues and reach so many people. Yes, there's a great evil can use this, but the good can use it as well too.
Yeah, the blogosphere we hear a lot about. You can sit at your home, you don't have to travel. You think of what St. Paul would have done with it if he had the internet. St. Therese, patron saint of missionaries. Missionary aspect to use the technology, whatever it may be. Whether it's video work. There's a lot of good young Catholics out there right now who are really engulfing themselves in video work, and they're doing great things. People like Seth DeMoore, for example. 1 Billion Stories, and they're using the technology and really at the cutting edge, trying to do all possible to reach as many hearts and souls as possible. And that's where the fight lies, in trying to work within hearts and minds, to reach souls through the things that grab our attention. And the media technology that's out there, boy, it grabs our attention. When you got dual quad processors in your tablet now, they're moving faster, than the first computers ever could. It's incredible to think what the average person has, just in their smartphone, on their tablet.
So the Pope is saying that we use all this to foster an encounter with the Lord, right? We're pointing people to Jesus. We're trying to foster a relationship with Him, and that's at the heart of evangelization. Well, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back with St. John's Catholic School out of Kansas. So don't go away. Back in a moment.
Welcome back to Life on the Rock. I'm Doug Barry along with Father Mark. We are the Rock House Compadres, and you are at the best place you could be at this moment in time of your life. I have to say that every week that I'm leading the show. So, but thanks for being with us right now. We got a great group here from just underneath Nebraska, where I'm from, Beloit, Kansas. It is a speck on the map. I mean, it's small. What's the population, Andrew?
About 3,800.
I thought it was 38. Okay, 3,800 people.
And it's a beautiful speck.
It's a beautiful speck. It really is. That's right. We got Andrew Niewald, Luke Eilert.
Yes.
All right, and Joe Holdren. Joe, your brother, is Father Ben Holdren.
Father Ben Holdren out of Lincoln, Nebraska, and one of your old guitar players for Radix.
That's right, yeah, years ago, yeah.
And he's got another brother that works for the network in Rome.
Yeah, Alan Holdren is in Rome with Vaticano.
So, awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, so good Catholic family. You all got going there. I know your parents out in Friend.
Yeah.
Are they still out there?
Greg and Maureen Holdren, yeah, they're still in Friend, and they're still being witnesses.
Yeah.
So
yes, that is the name of the town, folks. Friend, Nebraska. We're a friendly state. You can't, well, anyway. All right. So, Andrew, good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And Luke and Joe, and you guys came to Camp Gargano a while back.
I think 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Great trip.
Hands
Yeah,
are
you
still
guys,
sore.
it was
Still sore, right?
Are you still sore?
Yeah, still sore.
Got a few blisters.
Yeah, it was a lot of blisters. Yeah, it was a good trip, you guys. But you brought a great group, and there was great energy there, and it was really exciting to see. But let's get right to it because we got 3 segments to cover this. Your school in Beloit, it's like this gem sitting out there. It's like 148,000 years old. It was there before the continent was formed, I think.
Yeah.
It's an incredible place. It was a 135-year-old
That's
school.
right. That's right.
Tell us about St. John.
It's an incredible story. The school started. It's a very German town, German Catholic town for the most part. 1879 was when it started, if you can believe that. 1879, 2-room schoolhouse in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Very agricultural.
No internet.
No internet. No internet.
Al Gore hadn't invented it yet.
No. So the school started 2-room schoolhouse, financially supported by only one parish, right? The school grew. Eventually in 1914 they built another school. It's grade school. And then the high school opened. It was, at the time it started, it was only 1st grade through 8th grade, I believe. And then in 1922 they added the high school, and the first graduating high school class was in 1925. Wow. So I think, Luke, we figured out the other day of high school, you would be the 89th. What did we say? The 89th graduating class. So
you're a senior this year, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And some of the beautiful part about it is, like, Luke is, I think, a 3rd-generation family that's been through. So his father and his grandfather also, went through the school system. So there's a lot of tradition, family ties like that too, which makes it very compelling from a tradition standpoint.
Now, does the hallway have like the graduating class pictures of all the people?
All of them. All of them, right.
So you got the girls with the beehives back in the
totally,
60s.
totally. Big bangs in the 80s.
All the way back to about 1925.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's great. I love those types of schools. When I've spoken in those schools around the country is walking down the halls and seeing all these pictures and really just the beauty, the fact that the Catholic faith is being taught over and over, year after year. And your school has not lost that. I mean, there's something really powerful about the priorities there, academics, athletics, spirituality, and where some schools have lost that priority and they've misplaced where spirituality should be. You guys still have that faith up top there.
I mean, you see that. I mean, some of the statistics of Catholic education kind of speak for themselves, and sometimes towards the negative side of it. What is it? I think 30, 40 years ago, you saw upwards of 12,000 Catholic schools in the country. Now there's just under 6,000. That's, I mean, why? So why does that happen?
So in about 30 to 40 years, we've dropped 50%.
Yeah.
We've lost 50% of our Catholic schools.
And those Catholic schools that are remaining, I mean, tuition has hiked, right? A lot of that has been because of, decline in religious vocations. Nuns that used to teach at the school. I graduated from the same school in 1998. I was just on the very end of it. I had 2 nuns that taught me there, and but prior to that, there was all sorts of nuns that taught there. No more. There's not one nun in our school right now. But I think that paints a picture of other Catholic schools like that in the United States. Some of the reason why you've seen tuition rates skyrocket, so it's become almost unaffordable for a lot of families too. My brother-in-law teaches at a school in Atlanta, and I think they're at about $12,000 a year for tuition, which is incredible.
What's the tuition at your school?
In Beloit, we charge $700 a year per child, and then it caps at $2,000 a year. So if I mean, someone with 10 children they're only still paying $2,000 a year. So it's a lot due to the demographics. We can't charge that much just from the medium household income, but also due to we want to keep it affordable because that's what Catholic education I feel was originally intended to be. Now
the numbers you just threw out there, a little scary, a little shaky for some people to consider. Joe, you're the assistant principal there.
Yeah.
So do you have a just completely volunteer teaching staff then? Is that what it is?
Sometimes it might feel that way, and it's we can laugh about it, absolutely, but when you look at the not just our school but a lot of Catholic schools across the country, it really is. We have teachers that are missionaries. It's not without pay, but sometimes it feels that way. And we have, especially at St. John's, just the beauty of the teachers' ability and willingness to take on all these extra duties and wear these hats that no normal teacher at any school that's a science teacher or a history teacher would also be the class sponsor, would also coach basketball would also be a National Honor Society sponsor. everybody puts that effort out, and that's that richness of the history too.
And for you as assistant principal, you also teach.
I teach science.
You're also the janitor, the groundskeeper,
Sure.
and the mechanic. Is that the maintenance guy?
If they ask me, I'll try it. And that's what keeps everything running. And
Right.
just to kind of hit on what Andrew had said as well with that, people's willingness and our focus to try and keep the tuition low is, you see these families work together. And if you ever get the chance to come to Beloit, if you want to see a true parish family, and not only the parish, but also the town as a whole, but specifically within that parish family, you see these families who have struggled for generations, put their blood, sweat, tears into keeping the school alive. And from what I hear, every year we're closing down. And it sounds like back in
that for 40 years.
Yeah. And that's kind of what drives me as a family man. My children, my oldest is now in first grade, and I've got 3 more on the way coming up, and a 5th coming in July. But that drives me, and I know the other teachers there too feel that, and they feel that mission spirit, and that just absolute want to share the faith, and so we'll do what we need to do.
And Luke is a senior. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you can tell by just being around the teachers that they want to be there and they want to help you learn. But not only they want to help you to learn, but they want to help you grow spiritually and just become a better person in general. And you can really tell that the way they interact with you. And they're not just worried about getting the good grades. They're about helping you grow as a person.
So, and as a senior, you've gone your entire school career.
Yeah, ever since preschool when I was 4.
If he passes.
Yeah,
if he gets out this year.
As long as I make it to May. So.
Well, and now, and you obviously into sports. You got the litter jacket going there. What sports you playing there?
Football, basketball, golf, and track. And we have a kind of a unique story. When I was a freshman, we didn't have a whole lot of upperclassmen, so we kind of stepped into the role, and we weren't successful at all. We won, combined in football and basketball, we won 4 games all year. So then we've progressed through that. Yeah, we've learned, how to deal with losing, obviously. But then we've also worked hard to get to where we are. And this year we went 11-1 in football and made it to sub-state championship. And basketball is going good so far. And we're currently #1 in the state in our division.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And I mean, it really sounds like what you're all describing is you got a nice kind of family quality atmosphere to the whole school.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's a testimony. When you can send your children to school and they can walk to school, and they can walk home after school. I mean, it's such a small rural environment that kind of facilitates the wholesomeness. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Absolutely. And I mean, in the grade school, if you come to the grade school in the morning, we start every day with, our St. John's Pledge. From the time they're in preschool, they know it. I'm a member of the St. John's grade school family. That's instilled in them, and they know that not only because they say it, because they look around and it's lived.
And is it just in the young kids that do that, or is it everybody?
The young kids say that every day.
Okay. Do you remember the pledge, Luke?
Some of it. I could definitely follow along if somebody was saying it with me.
The audience is wanting to know what is the pledge.
Yeah. So there's the $20 question.
Well, during the break, they can.
Okay. We'll work on the pledge during the break, and we'll get back to you on that one. Okay. So, but this is something. Let's understand your position, assistant principal. But you also teach.
I do. I teach 4 classes in the science field: life science, biology. I teach earth and space science. 7th and 8th grade, I have those guys.
Wow.
So I stay on the life sciences. We have a great math teacher, Rusty Leaguer, who also teaches the physical sciences. But, within that, again, the beauty of that Catholic school is that we can ground science in faith.
Right.
Right. And that's the beauty of the Catholic faith, the tradition, everybody seems to, I say everybody, I'm generalizing obviously here, but there's that misconception out there that science conflicts with our faith, whereas our faith drives research, our faith, and that's one of the things I love about being able to have control of the curriculum in science and just letting our kids see the beauty of science, see the the fun in science, and then be able to use that, and
that flows a little bit right into some of the great books, the classical education model that we're starting to implement as well, which emphasizes the use of logic and applied reason to any given part of the curriculum, whether it be science, math, social sciences, faith topics. So yeah, across the board.
It helps you see other people's perspectives, and it also lets you know that you're not always right, which no one's ever always right. So it'll teach you how to argue a little bit without being disrespectful all the time, and then just figuring out how to get the right answer objectively.
Wow, sounds awesome. And so you teach as well, though, Andrew?
I do. I just teach part-time. I teach 2 theology courses. To the juniors, I teach a course, just Catholic Apologetics for the first 3 quarters. And then the last quarter, we teach a subject called Dating, Marriage, and Family Life Studies. And then to the seniors, we offer, and Luke's taking this course right now, just John Paul II's Theology of the Body. And we do that through the whole year. That's fantastic material.
Right.
It's definitely unique to other schools, not only because it's a religion class, but like when we did the Dating, Marriage, and Family Life, we actually took the girls in our class out on dates. Just like we went into the gym and brought them food and just had a dating atmosphere and just, you know, figured out how to do it.
Sure, and that emphasizes just teaching chivalry. I mean, that's a kind of a lost art.
So you actually set up like a restaurant scenario in the gym.
We brought candles and
they have to make the
napkins
food, right?
and
Which is also entertainment for some of the other teachers and students. You know, we get a peek in the gym to see how the date's going and you know who's got the best conversation going.
So on top of things like this, we teach some of the kids how to dance, how to waltz, how to country swing dance. Just some of the things about what it means to be human, you know, which some of this I think in education has been lost because it's just kind of been pushed to the side as unuseful maybe. I suppose we look at it at the school more as just the formation of the human person, like I said, and just that Catholic element of what it means to be Catholic and that culture, you know, that Catholic culture.
Well, and if we don't teach those things, you know, if we don't deal with those subjects and those issues, they're going to be taught.
Yeah, right.
From the secular side, from the worldly side.
Sure.
You know, the enemy's got his way of teaching those things, and normally it's on the very destructive direction. So. I'm curious about the dating thing again. I'm curious, how do you grade that? Like, do you all sit back and watch and then go up and ask the young lady, okay, how did he do?
Well, they have to.
He didn't give me the right kind of flower.
That's right. That's right.
I mean, how do you go about that?
Mr. Niewald would give like the girl a little handout or something that she would actually grade us.
And we don't tell them what they're graded.
Okay.
Well, we tell them some creativity, chivalry,
just like how a conversation was. You know, was it well prepared? Was it just a fun date? Stuff like that.
Yeah, so they had to make the food themselves. Yeah.
Sometimes you can tell the mom has had a hand in it because, you know, I'll look in the gym and there's a really nice tablecloth and, but they're willing and they're open to take that advice. So, you know, it's fun to see. It's fun to see from my aspect growing up in a public school too. Yeah. You know, that ability to pray in class, to, you know, start each class with prayer, to, you know, ask the Holy Spirit to guide us in what we're learning. That was missing. So, you know, to see that and to see the fun that they have with it too. And you know, these guys, they're not shy. I don't know if you can tell from Luke, they're just not shy, and they love to share that gift that they learn with the dancing. We have.
And that's the sort of thing, you know, especially when you have young men who aren't shy, we need to tame and train that energy.
Oh, absolutely.
So it is always used in the right ways. We're going to run to a break right now, and when we come back, we're going to have more on this fantastic school out there, and also some hope for what you can do if you're involved in Catholic schools and you're struggling. These guys can give you some ideas on how to keep that ball rolling, how to keep that fire going. So don't go away. We will be back after this. Welcome back to Life on the Rock. We're here with the St. John School in Beloit, Kansas. Wonderful state, just below Nebraska. Not quite where, I don't want to get into that about, you know, the map, who's higher than who, but anyway, you're not that far from my home, are you? Like 2.5 hours or so, isn't it?
2.5, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Jayhawk land, right?
I have no clue what that is.
Kind of.
Yeah, we're in Alabama right now. Careful when you talk about college down here.
Yeah.
There's 2 schools down here, and some think it's only 1. But you're, Joe, you're actually from Lincoln area, right?
I am,
Is that
a
correct?
little town called Friend, Nebraska.
That's right.
Found my way to Lincoln via.
You tell us that story, how that happened.
Yeah, it's a funny. It's one of the things that I know I'm supposed to be in Beloit, and it's funny because I can identify. In the last 5 years, we've had 36 families move to Beloit specifically for the school, and I can identify that with that because I freshly out of college. My wife and I have a young son, and my wife is 8 months pregnant with our daughter coming. And I'm finishing school, and Marcy and I are praying, or, Lord, open a door for us. Whatever it is, I'm applying for the wildlife and fisheries positions because that's what I went to school for. And so I'm expecting, maybe a federal job in wildlife biology, or, that would have been my dream for that. But, we were honest with each other and wanting to do God's will in our life. And we just opened that up and said, Lord, open a door. And it's actually funny because, you ask sometimes and you're not ready for what's coming. But actually, it's funny. Andrew's mother is Andrew Niewald, and she knows my older brother, Father Ben, and who happened to have dinner within the week of us saying that prayer. And I get a phone call 2 days after that from the principal of St. John's at that time. And long story short, I come with my wife.
Day before school started.
Yeah, it's literally the in-service at the start of the school year. That was my interview. I think I had to make it through the in-service. And that was, okay, he made it, let's hire it, But I get through that, and my wife and I look at each other, and we're like, wow, Kansas. Like you said, Nebraskans and Kansas, there's I don't want to say this because I know it'll stir a lot, but we're a lot alike. It's a lateral move if you want to look at it like that. And when you think about that, we're thinking in our head, wildlife biology, mountains, Colorado, beautiful scenery, overlooking what we had, grown accustomed to in the beauty of Nebraska and the beauty of the plains. And
Oh, the agricultural, just the environment, people, hard work, cows and horses, and people grow them themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's take a moment, since we're all from the Midwest here, except for Father, and let's talk about the beauty of the Midwest for all you people out there who think that Nebraska and Kansas is just flat and pretty much useless. Understand that it was at one point considered the Midwest was like a desert to a lot of people, like an inescapable ocean. The pioneers crossing the Midwest. There's a tremendous amount of history out there. The pioneers and what they went through, sod houses, you name it. Incredible atmosphere out there. And there's still a real wholesomeness in the Midwest, from the Dakotas all the way down into Oklahoma, and maybe even some of you in Texas. But there's still a real wholesomeness to a lot of that middle section of the country. It's really wonderful, really rich. Like you said, a lot of German descent, a lot of Catholic Germans, a lot of Poles, and Polish people, Polish people, not Poles as in Poles, but Polish people.
You can find beauty wherever you go. You just have to look for it. Like in Kansas, you look for sunsets, hills, and stuff like that.
Big sky.
But yeah, there you go, big sky.
Hunting, fishing. Oh yeah, all sorts of just outdoors.
But then people out there too are, you could say beautiful, just because everyone would want to help you if you need something, and they'd always be willing to do something for you. Yeah. And that's something you can't really find anywhere else.
Yeah, it is. They're pretty generous out there. So you end up there. How many years ago was this then for you, Joe?
This is going on 6 years now.
6 years.
As I was saying there, we came, we saw what we had been seeking, and we knew we were supposed to be there. And
how'd you get to assistant principal?
That's another. How did I become a teacher? I was trained, like I said, wildlife and fisheries management. Yeah. And had really not considered education at that point, even though I come from a family of educators. And so, again, by the grace of God, he allowed the people at St. John's to maybe see that potential. And since I started, I actually came into St. John's about a month into that school year, right after my daughter was born, and I started to mentor teach with who is now our principal, Marcy Key, who is a great mentor for me. And I sat in the classroom and watched her delivery. I knew the science part of it. It was the delivery, what is the educational model we're looking for? And again, just watching her delivery, watching her, really her finesse in the classroom, and just trying to emulate that. And then I took over after about a month and a half. And then 2 years into teaching, there was a switch of administration, and I thought I'd throw my hat in the ring. You know, I have a background in the military, and a lot of that is the discipline and, you know, just looking to help in that way if I could.
Right.
And so they took a chance on me again, and they added that title.
Well, you know, you see you got a degree in wildlife management. There's a lot of people that would say being an assistant principal at high school is like wildlife management.
That's right.
There's a lot of similarities.
I'm just saying, you know, not trying to cause trouble here. All right, Luke, let's get down to the nitty gritty because the audience all wants to know what kind of an assistant principal is this guy. You can tell us.
Absolutely.
Be completely honest. Father is here if you need
confession
later. So,
Well, you know, he understands what it's like to be a kid, so it's not like he's standing there not knowing like what he did as a kid. But he also keep you on the right track. He won't let you off the hook if you do something. He'll make sure he holds you accountable. And I'd say we're pretty lucky to have him. So
round of applause for the assistant principal. That was just beautiful. The tear-jerking moment right there.
What about can I ask about the Apologetics program? I know, Andrew, you were telling me earlier how you all actually invite like other denominations in, or
Sure, it's the course offers just a unique, probably, approach to the subject matter of just how to defend the faith. I believe that the art of debate it's an art, and I feel like it's lost. I feel like debate has become almost a bad word. You got into a debate with somebody, it's almost like you got into an argument. Argument is bad, and in a way, I feel like in regards to evangelization, especially with our just people who aren't Catholic. It's just learning how to properly understand, listen to them, you know, and then come back with an intelligent debate or rebuttals. So what we've done in the class is we invite non-Catholic pastors. This year we've got a Jehovah's Witness that leads their church in our local community. He comes to class sometimes every other week. And then with the weeks he's not there, we bring a Baptist pastor, and he'll come. And what he'll do is he'll just present what they believe. And oftentimes, or sometimes it's very similar to what we believe, you know, and oftentimes it's very, very different. And we learn, I think the thought behind that is to teach the kids, you know, how we're viewed, you know, sometimes from our non-Catholic brothers and sisters. So we'll take what he proposes to us, and then the kids will do some research, you know, the rest of the week when he's not there. And then the following week they'll come back and they'll have a debate with him. 2 years ago we had a public debate. We advertised in the newspapers and put banners outside the school where our own kids debated the topic of the Eucharist with this Baptist pastor. There was 300 people there. It was well attended.
That's almost the entire town.
Yeah.
That's right. There was a couple people out of town, you know.
Well, just like going through the class, the first thing that we did is went over a bunch of different faiths and what they believed and how that would contradict our faith. And then the next thing we went into, as Mr. Niewald alluded to, is that how to argue respectfully and to actually figure out or to clarify the question to know exactly what they're arguing. And then I thought it was really cool to have what my experience is. We brought in the Jehovah's Witness and we talked to him, and it was very respectful. And when you're respectful like that, you can actually get somewhere with your discussions. And I actually felt like we made a difference in his life.
So, Luke, do you see that those skills then translating over into other areas of your life, other relationships, like with parents and siblings and kid in the hallway that you don't like?
Yeah, you definitely learn how to deal with people that, you know, like I said, don't believe like you do.
Right.
And I guess that's a big skill to have in life that I take it most people don't have, because it seems like everyone will get irritated when you say something that contradicts their beliefs.
Yeah. Leaders of nations don't have that skill sometimes.
And I think that is so important. I heard somebody talking about this recently too, that it was actually a local Protestant pastor, and he was saying that scene in the gospel where Jesus asked his disciples, "Who do people say that I am?" And he wanted to hear what others were saying, and he wanted his disciples to pay attention to what other people were saying. Then he gives the answer of who he is. But that is so important in evangelization, is knowing where people are at, what they're thinking, where they're coming from. And Jesus himself told us to do that.
There's so many just misunderstandings. And so just to get even our own students to understand what those misunderstandings are is I feel like a huge accomplishment itself.
And like you definitely know, or you understand it a whole lot better when you're researching it yourself and then debate it back to a Jehovah's Witness per se, because you're actually, you know, trying to make a difference in telling them what Catholics do in fact believe, and that'll help you grow in your faith.
Did you find, Luke, that it makes it easier for you to really own your faith, make it your own, really
because
embrace it that
for
way?
a lot of kids at St. John's, it's kind of your parents' faith, you know. But then once you're confirmed, you make it your own, and so you know when you're discussing faiths with each other, you do kind of take offense if someone would say something bad about the Catholic faith, and then that, you know, makes you feel stronger about your faith.
Well, and I think too, you look at the world right now, and you know, relativism is rampant. And you look at right now, if you were, I can't remember the date that I read this, but it was, you know, somewhere around 90% of students in high school do not have an understanding of what absolute truth is. And so that relativism just keeps, you know, just the cycle continues. And I think it's important what Mr. Niewald does in class is that he doesn't just say, this is what we believe, take it. You know, this is what we believe, and this is why, and this is how. And, you know, and this is the beauty of all of that mixed together, and that's why we're called, and that's why we're convicted to share that. You know, it's not just, you know, the magisterium, it's not, you know, this is the doctrine of our faith.
Rule.
Yeah,
sure.
But it's not without explanation, and it's not without the, you know, the practice. And I think that's what, you know, the classes I look at, and I kind of start drooling. You know, I'm imagining my son taking these classes later, and my daughter's taking these classes, and like, can they take it in kindergarten? Is it all right in first grade? You know, when can we start this?
Do you have a first grade apologetics course?
Working on it, right? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, and I feel in so many ways that's why maybe Catholic education potentially, in some degrees, has lost its way a little bit. When you discover the depth and the richness of, you know, the history that we possess in our faith, I mean, my goodness, how it's beautiful. And when it's communicated in such a way, it's very compelling. And in fact, it moves you, you know?
Yeah, and like the fact that everything has a meaning and everything has a purpose in our faith, just like it'll make you, you know, step back and realize how big our faith actually is and how much that means to a lot of people, and definitely a lot of people in our past, in our parish, to put up a church like they did.
If you look at our church, I mean, it was the largest church west of the Mississippi when it was built. I think it was the first church, isn't it? The first church in the United States that had flying buttresses.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's an incredible church, Gothic, Romanesque, I believe. And they did this all, you know, the pastor assigned, you know, amounts of limestone that each of them had to bring. They did this all themselves. That's tremendous faith. Obviously, those people understood the beauty and the depth of our faith.
So it wasn't just, you know, give the money and let somebody do it. It was the pastor and the organization of the people there, all there, bringing their blood, their sweat, their tears, their limestone.
In the mortar, in the mortar itself.
In the mortar,
you know? I mean,
exactly.
And Monsignor Heights, who was in charge of that, the priest at that time, he actually learned from the stone carvers how to shape the stone. And it wasn't enough for the farmers and the people around to bring it in. Then there were also volunteers that came in to help shape the stone to build the church. You know, so if you look at the walls of our church, a beautiful limestone church, you can kind of see that story in the church, you know, and you can imagine, you know, the ancestors that we have, you know, pouring themselves into that. And
this is kind of like the traditional barn raising that we all hear about. We hear stories about that. This was a little different, the limestone wall church raising event here. We're going to run to a break, and when we come back, we have more, one more segment. We're going to get into a little bit about the obstacles and the challenges, and also something very unique that this school did this year, this last December, wasn't it? Sure. Yeah, and we're going to invite everybody else out there in the country to take part in this next year and beyond. Powerful thing that they've done here. Don't go away, back after this. Welcome back to our last segment with the crew from St. John's in Beloit, Kansas. B-E-L-O-I-T, I believe is that
That's
correct?
right.
Yeah, Beloit.
Below it.
Beloit, there you go.
Nebraska, yeah.
Below Nebraska, there you go. 3,800 people in the city, I'm sorry, village, I'm sorry, town.
Settlement.
Settlement, there you go, settlement. I've driven through there a lot. It's Highway 81, isn't it?
Just 30 minutes off of that.
Okay, well, what am I driving through when I go through 81?
That's Concordia.
No, but
Or
there's another one.
Belleville.
What is it?
Paradise.
Belleville.
Yeah, that's right. It's,
Yeah, just
it's
before Concordia.
right at the border there.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
I'm sorry, state line. The border. Sorry. Taco Bell next year. Run for the border. All right, last segment here. Let's get into this. Obstacles. You guys obviously faced a lot of obstacles. 135 years. And as you said earlier, every year for the last 40 years, the school's on the verge of closing, that kind of weight that's there. And it really draws people to have to come out of themselves, sacrifice to keep these doors open and keep things flowing. Yeah. Tell us about some of the obstacles you guys face.
And before that even, I think it's important to point out that the people saying the school is going to close are not part of the school.
Right,
you know, the people within know.
It's the naysayers that
absolutely.
think, oh, you can't do it, you can't do it. But the people on the inside are thinking, oh yeah?
It's
Bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of obstacles do you fight?
Well, I
Do you face?
mean, there's all sorts of obstacles. Obviously, one is to sell the mission of the school, the purpose of why in a small town like that, why it's worth the effort of sacrifice. And I don't think, I think the first obstacle in recovering that is just the buy-in that it's worth having, everyone's children deeply formed in the faith. I think that's a major obstacle that every Catholic school systems face, is that Catholic school systems as a whole are worth the effort and worth the sacrifice. History has shown, right? All these Catholic schools have done it. And it's very possible because these Catholic schools can have a tremendous impact on their students. Financially, I think it is a major obstacle. With only $700 in tuition, a school like ours, it is. I mean, to call it what it is, it's hit your knees, let's pray, and hopefully that we can survive. And we've been able to just from a lot of committed people. Yeah. So go ahead.
Just through like generosity of alumni and people like that. Like when we have the benefit auction, it makes tons of money just from people just bidding up each other, just trying to raise more money for the school.
Sure.
Competitive.
And then people can see when like the school's in debt, and they'll actually take money out of their own pocket and help us out. And that's really helpful.
We've been fortunate enough. We've aligned ourselves with a Catholic entity out of Chicago, Julius Capital Partners out of Chicago. We've been very fortunate enough to develop kind of a creative financial strategy to seeing, that we can make it, that we can survive. And as we've begun to build momentum, I mean, there's some momentum going forward. So, because that's a big worry about everyone, with these new families that have moved to town. A lot of these families that have moved in town had never been associated with Beloit prior to doing so. So that's one of the questions that they always ask: how are you guys going to financially survive when you're only charging me $700 in tuition? So yeah, I think that's a major obstacle, not just for us, but for every Catholic school. So it's taken some creative financial ideas to see that carried forth.
Do you guys think that a bigger part of the picture, bigger part of the problem, as I think you kind of touched on a little bit, is that when you sell the mission, it's really trying to help us all understand how deeply necessary our faith is.
Sure.
At the very core of it, why do we have our faith? We have it because our souls are on the line. And it's a matter of we embrace Christ and we follow him, and as has been said, Jesus doesn't want admirers, he wants followers.
Sure.
He wants people who will get down and dirty in the thick of the hard work. Deny yourself, take up your cross, and follow me. And that's a tough challenge. That alone is a tough message to sell, but that is the reason for the school, is it not?
Oh, sure. I mean, the faith
To build followers for Christ.
Sure.
Yep.
I mean, without that mission, there is no mission, right? I mean, why have it then? I think that's the answer. If that is not the mission for the salvation of the souls, to lead souls to Christ, for sure.
And then that's what differentiates that Catholic education from any normal education or any public education per se. And when I say public education, I want to make sure that I point out one thing about Beloit that as a community is very unique, is the interaction actually between part of the public school and our school. The special ed department in Beloit actually they allow us to have a co-op with them. So if we have students who are struggling, we actually, they actually either send speech teachers to us, or actually in some cases we have the opportunity to bus some of our students to them for special services. So that's another thing you're not going to see, and that's, again, pointing out just the community as a whole, supports itself. And they want to see, we want to see the success of the public school. We want to see them do well. We also want our mission to be done. And so it's that give and take and that relationship that as a whole just makes, Beloit something special.
Now, in the climate within the school, Luke, you can speak to this. You're a senior, you're a big shot. Is there kind of an old West justice there where kids get out of hand and you tougher, older, bigger guys just take them out back and teach them a lesson?
Not exactly.
Good.
Compared,
That's good.
Compared to other schools, it's very nothing bad happens at all. And the kids that do get in trouble, they're for pretty minuscule things most of the time. So, we hold ourselves to a higher standard. So you're not expected to misbehave or anything like that. And if you do something small, you'll definitely get reprimanded for it. But we hold ourselves to a higher standard.
I think you just said something powerful. That's a good point. There is an expectation that young people, I don't even like the word teenage, by the way, teenager. I think it should be apprentice to adulthood. Sure. All right? Because it's almost as if when you're teenage years, there's this expectation that there's some genetic defect in a teenager and they're simply going to rebel and be disrespectful. And you're saying that that's not how you're looked at. There's an expectation that just shouldn't be acceptable.
Yeah, you definitely don't go into school and think about all the ways you can cause trouble. You want to behave, and I definitely want to set a good example for younger kids and for my younger siblings too, that they can look up to and see, it's not that hard to be a well-behaved kid most of the time.
And I think those expectations are clear too, and that's one of the things that Marcy Key, the principal, and myself have really worked to establish, is that clear expectation. And like you said, the expectation of what we expect of any human being, not just an adult, not a child, just the expectation to be a human and what that entails.
A decent person.
A decent person.
Just chooses certain things.
Yeah, and we have the staff that all sees that mission too. All of our teachers, our staff, they see that, and they also hold that accountability.
And that's, I think, comes from the culture of the school a little bit also too, is that not just to be maybe educated in the faith, because that's always the backdrop for a lot we do, but to have a conviction for the faith too. And there's a big difference, you'd agree. So that plays a role into it, I'm sure. And I think all of our teachers there support that incredibly well.
Yeah, they say there's a difference between being catechized and evangelized. To be taught is one thing, but to be set on fire for what you've been taught is a whole different level.
I think the teachers at our school do a good job of that, because I think that all of them are set on fire like that.
That's good.
And then they can relay that to all the students, and then it just goes on from there.
Speaking of being set on fire, Luke, tell us what it was your school just did recently, this powerful pro-life thing that you were reaching out as far and wide as you could across the country.
So our class had an initiative. Before, in the previous probably 5 years, we've gone to the nearest abortion clinic. We've gone up to Lincoln, Nebraska, and we've gone to Wichita and stood outside in peaceful protest. And just, we talk about abortion in class and how it's bad and all that, but there's a big difference between talking about it in class and then, going to an abortion clinic and standing out there and see what actually goes on. And we wanted to make it a little bigger this year, so we tried to reach out as much as we could through like Catholic news agencies, and a bunch of us seniors did a couple of interviews each. A video. And we actually got we got 18 different schools across the nation to participate in this, pro-life rally, we called it. That on that same day, they went out to an abortion clinic near them and stood out and prayed. And we're hoping that, we can keep growing from that, maybe double that number and then keep doing that, and just make it as big as possible.
So is this primarily the senior students that put this whole thing together?
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was the teachers originally that kind of put it together, but then our senior class kind of wanted to take it a bigger step, make even more difference in the world.
You took it on, you owned it basically.
Yeah.
And made it your project. The 18 schools from across the country on the same day protested peacefully, prayerfully at their local abortion mill.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was awesome. They did an awesome job with it in general. They live action news, I mean, Life Site News. There was all sorts of different
Oh yeah.
News agencies.
news agencies so they did all the interviews. It was really neat, and they did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Good experience for them too. You know.
Well, yeah.
Then you can experience people that disagree with you again, but the people that disagree with you aren't gonna walk up and tell you peacefully that they don't like what you're doing. You know, they're gonna give you gestures and definitely tell you that they don't like you. And we actually had people protesting us this year. We went down to Wichita, and there were people standing out like on the other side of the driveway of us, you know, trying to make noise, trying to distract us from like the reason that we were there.
I think the school actually received, what was it, Joe, 25
a
or
lot
22,
of
25 phone calls of people that were upset with the school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, as our Lord says, if you're not, well, how did he put it? They hated me, they'll hate you.
Right. Right.
You know,
We hated all the people.
you know. But fear not, for I have overcome the world. He's conquered death and he's risen. Gentlemen, fantastic. Where can they go to get information on your school and get ready for next year? We got just a minute to wrap up.
Sure. Website www.gostjohns.com, or you can like us on Facebook, which is St. John's Catholic School Beloit, Kansas.
Okay.
And I might mention, if you don't mind, the Catholic School Life Rally that we participated in, that we organized.
Yeah.
It's the Facebook page is Catholic School Life Rally on Facebook.
Catholic School Life Rally on Facebook. Gentlemen, awesome.
Yeah.
Great to have you on
Awesome.
the show.
Yeah.
Hey,
Good job,
thank
Luke.
you for having us.
Good job. All right. Father, take us out as only you can.
May our Heavenly Father shine His face upon you. May He give you His peace. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We'll see you next week.